Chosen One. Why does your reflection look back at you like it's waiting for permission to exist? Why do people look through you like you're made of glass, but animals stop dead in their tracks when you pass? Why does it feel like your name was deleted from every conversation, but whispered in every prayer you never heard? Listen to me, Chosen One. What you thought was invisibility was encryption. You've been walking through life feeling erased, forgotten, like God Himself hit the mute button on your existence. You speak and the words dissolve before they reach anyone's ears. You enter rooms and people look past you like you're a ghost in your own story. But here's the shock that's about to split your reality in half. You weren't overlooked. You were downloaded. For months, maybe years, you've been sealed inside heaven's most classified program, a spiritual quarantine so sophisticated that even you forgot you were inside it. The world couldn't see you because God wrapped you in frequencies only heaven could decode. You thought you disappeared, but you were being prepared. Every time someone forgot your name, God was encrypting your identity deeper. Every time you felt invisible, heaven was installing new spiritual software in your soul. Every moment you thought you were abandoned, you were being armed. This isn't about being hidden anymore, Chosen One. This is about being unleashed. The dome around you wasn't built to keep you safe from the world. It was built to keep the world safe from what's rising inside you, because what God downloads in secret, He reveals in power. You've been in spiritual stealth mode, but the download is complete. The encryption is breaking, and what's about to emerge from heaven's vault will make the earth remember why angels sang when you were born. You feel it, don't you? That stirring behind your ribs, that electric hum in your bones. That's not anxiety, beloved. That's activation. The atmosphere bends when you breathe, because heaven recognizes its own frequency. Mirrors tremble because they're reflecting more than flesh. They're catching glimpses of the glory that's about to break through. Right now, this very moment you're hearing these words, the dome is cracking, not breaking down, breaking open, like an egg releasing what was always meant to fly. If you feel like you've been living in the shadows, but your soul knows it's being watched by something massive. If you've been forgotten by people, but remembered by providence. If the world deleted you, but destiny keeps calling your name. Type, I've been hidden by God. Because Chosen One, you weren't benched. You were sealed, not discarded, but downloaded. And now, the system is ready to launch. The invisibility ends today. The encryption breaks now. What heaven hid, heaven will reveal, and the world that forgot you is about to remember why they should have been paying attention. Why has your mouth been sewn shut by invisible thread for months? Why do words feel like they weigh 1,000 pounds before they leave your lips? Why does your soul feel like it's been wrapped in cotton, muffled from the world, even from yourself? Chosen One, what you've been calling depression, what you've been naming loneliness, what you've been fearing as abandonment, that wasn't God leaving you. That was God sedating you. For the last 6 months, maybe longer, you've been living in what feels like spiritual Novocaine. Everything muted. Every prayer feeling like it's bouncing off the ceiling. Every attempt to speak feeling like your voice is traveling through molasses. You thought you were broken, but you were being prepped for surgery. Listen to me carefully. That supernatural quiet that descended over your life, like a heavy blanket that wasn't the absence of the divine. That was the presence of the divine anesthesiologist. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." But the Hebrew word for still doesn't mean peaceful meditation. It means to cease striving to let go, to become completely limp in His hands. You've been spiritually sedated because heaven needed you unconscious for what they were about to do inside you. Think back to those long afternoons when you couldn't even muster the energy to pray. Those evenings when you sat staring at nothing, feeling like your soul was wrapped in gauze. Those nights when you went to bed wondering if God even remembered your name. That wasn't spiritual death, beloved. That was spiritual surgery prep. Every great operation requires the patient to be completely still. You can't perform heart surgery on someone who's fighting, moving, trying to help. The body must surrender completely to the process, and your soul, chosen one, has been under heaven's operating table. The silence you've been drowning in, that's not emptiness. That's the sound of heaven holding its breath, while the great physician works on parts of you that couldn't be touched while you were awake and fighting. You know that feeling when you come out of anesthesia, that strange disconnected sensation where you're not sure what's real, where your body feels different, but you can't quite put your finger on why. That's where you are right now. The spiritual sedation is wearing off. The divine surgery is complete, and you're starting to wake up with something inside you that wasn't there before. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. That quiet season wasn't punishment. It was preparation. God had to silence your old voice to install your new one. He had to shut down your old spiritual operating system to download the upgrade. You've been wondering why your prayers felt like they were hitting a wall. It's because they were. Heaven built a wall around you, not to keep God out, but to keep the world's interference from disrupting the divine procedure. That isolation you felt, that wasn't rejection. That was a sterile environment. Every surgeon needs a controlled space where no contamination can enter. Your life became heaven's operating room, and the dome around you was the spiritual equivalent of surgical drapes. Isaiah 55:8 reminds us, "My thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord." While you were interpreting the silence as abandonment, heaven was interpreting it as the necessary quiet before the storm of your activation. You couldn't hear God because he was working too close to speak. When a surgeon is operating on your heart, they don't stop mid-procedure to chat. They work in focused, life-saving silence. And chosen one, that's exactly what's been happening to your spiritual heart. The quietness is breaking now. The spiritual anesthesia is wearing off, and you're about to discover what heaven installed while you were under. That restlessness you're starting to feel, that's not anxiety. That's your new spiritual circuitry coming online. That strange electricity in your chest, that's not panic. That's power booting up. The dome around you is shifting from an operating room to a launch pad. If silence has been your unwanted roommate lately, if you've been living in spiritual quiet that felt more like death than peace, drop A in the comments. Because that lock was heaven's way of saying surgery in progress, do not disturb. But the surgery is complete now, chosen one. The stillness wasn't failure, it was a sacred seal in motion. And what's about to break that seal will shake the foundations of everything you thought you knew about your calling. The quiet is over. The download is complete. Now comes the activation. Now that the anesthesia is wearing off, you need to understand what was actually built around you while you were under. This wasn't a gentle covering, chosen one. This was military-grade spiritual architecture. Heaven didn't just throw a blanket over you. They constructed a containment field so sophisticated that it makes earthly technology look like finger painting. Every inch of your soul has been scanned, mapped, reinforced. Your thoughts, your impulses, your discernment, even your dreams, all of it sealed behind divine encryption that hell's hackers can't crack. But here's what's going to blow your mind. The dome isn't just protecting you from what's outside. It's preventing what's inside you from leaking out prematurely. Think about that for a moment. God built something around you so powerful that it's not just keeping enemies out, it's keeping your calling contained until the exact right moment. In Ephesians 1:13, Paul writes, "You were sealed with the promised Holy Spirit." But the Greek word for sealed isn't gentle, It's sfragizo, the same word used for the official seal on a king's tomb. Unbreakable, authorized, absolutely secure. That's not poetry, beloved. That's cosmic engineering. Right now, as I'm speaking these words, there's a spiritual structure around you that operates on frequencies science hasn't discovered yet. It's not made of matter. It's made of pure divine intention. This dome has 7 layers of protection, each one calibrated to defend against specific types of attacks. Layer 1, mental firewall. Every toxic thought, every spirit of confusion, every whisper of doubt bounces off like raindrops on titanium. Layer 2, emotional stabilizer. No more emotional hijacking. No more being triggered by people who don't even deserve access to your energy. Layer 3, spiritual radar. The dome doesn't just block, it detects. You'll sense deception before it speaks. You'll feel danger before it shows up. Layer 4, energy conservation unit. No more spiritual vampires draining your power. The dome has cut off unauthorized access to your anointing. Layer 5, prophetic amplifier. While blocking out noise, it amplifies heaven's frequency. God's voice becomes crystal clear inside this structure. Layer 6, destiny preservation chamber. Your calling is being kept at the perfect temperature, pressure, and timing until it's ready to emerge. Layer 7, divine authorization lock. Nothing enters or exits without heaven's approval. Not fear, not doubt, not premature opportunities that would derail your purpose. This isn't some mystical metaphor, chosen one. This is spiritual technology so advanced that angels study its blueprints. But here's what the enemy is terrified you'll discover. The dome isn't just defensive, it's offensive. Every time someone tries to manipulate you, the dome redirects their energy back to them. Every time a spirit of confusion attacks your mind, it gets scrambled by heaven's interference system. You've been walking around wondering why certain people suddenly can't affect you anymore. Why toxic environments feel powerless around you. Why negative energy just slides off. That's not you getting stronger, beloved. That's the dome doing what it was engineered to do. In Daniel 6:22, when Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, the angel of the Lord shut the mouths of the lions. But here's what most people miss. The angel didn't just protect Daniel. He created an invisible barrier that rendered the lion's weapons useless. That's exactly what's happening to you right now. Every weapon formed against you isn't just failing, it's being systematically disabled by divine countermeasures. But this dome comes with a responsibility that most chosen ones don't understand. It's not just about your protection, it's about containment. God has been downloading spiritual software into your soul for months. New gifts, new authority, new dimensions of power. But if that power leaked out before you were ready, it would either overwhelm you or get stolen by the wrong people. The dome is keeping your upgrade secure until you're mature enough to handle it. Think about a nuclear reactor. All that power, all that energy contained behind layers of protective barriers. Not to keep the power weak, but to keep it controlled until it's ready to be channeled properly. That's what God has built around your calling. You've been wondering why you feel so different lately, why old temptations have lost their grip, why you can't tolerate shallow conversations anymore, why your discernment has become razor sharp. It's because the dome is regulating what has access to you and what doesn't. Here's the classified intelligence that's going to change everything. The dome has an expiration date. It's not permanent containment, it's temporary preparation. And according to heaven's timeline, that expiration date is rapidly approaching. The spiritual quarantine is almost over. The divine download is nearly complete. And when that dome opens, what emerges won't just be the old you with better protection. It will be a completely upgraded version of who God always intended you to be. But here's the warning that's burning in my spirit. This window of preparation is closing. If you don't align with what God is doing during this dome season, you risk missing the moment when it opens. If you fight against the isolation, the silence, the seeming stillness, you could delay your own activation. The dome is intelligent, chosen one. It responds to your cooperation. The more you surrender to the process, the faster it completes the installation. Say this out loud right now. I am sealed for what's next. Don't just think it, speak it. Let your voice activate the final authorization codes in your spiritual system, because what I'm about to tell you next will explain why every chosen one on earth is receiving this same dome upgrade simultaneously. This isn't just about your personal protection. This is about a global spiritual operation that's about to go live. And you, beloved, are about to discover exactly what role you've been designed to play in heaven's endgame strategy. The dome doesn't just protect you from the storm that's coming. It prepares you to be the calm in the center of it. But before that dome could be installed, it had to be calibrated to your exact spiritual frequency. And that calibration process, chosen one, was brutal. Every heartbreak you endured wasn't random suffering. It was precision engineering. Every betrayal that cut you to the bone wasn't cruel fate. It was divine measurement. Every loss that made you question God's goodness wasn't abandonment. It was Him taking the exact dimensions of your soul so the dome would fit perfectly. You thought you were falling apart, but heaven was taking notes. That ache you've been carrying, that deep, unnamed wound that throbs when it rains, that wasn't weakness. That was your divine code activating. Every tear that fell was heaven's ink writing your assignment in permanent script across the pages of your spirit. In 2 Corinthians 1:3-4, Paul reveals something that most people read backwards. God comforts us in all our troubles so that we can comfort others. But look deeper. The word troubles in Greek is thlipsis. It means pressure that crushes grapes into wine. Your pain wasn't punishment, it was processing. Listen to me carefully, beloved. That depression that nearly took you under, that was God pressing down on your spirit until every false identity, every people-pleasing mask, every counterfeit dream was squeezed out of you. That anxiety that kept you awake at night, that was your spirit learning to recognize threats that your mind couldn't see yet. That loneliness that felt like it would swallow you whole, that was heaven isolating you from everything that would contaminate what they were building inside you. You survived what killed other people's faith because you were being forged for something others couldn't handle. Think about it. Why didn't you break when others in similar situations completely shattered? Why didn't you walk away from God when you had every human reason to? Why did something deep inside you keep whispering, hold on, even when holding on felt impossible? Because the dome was already partially installed, protecting your core, even while your surface was being renovated. Every sleepless night you spent crying into your pillow, heaven was there taking measurements, not watching you suffer for entertainment, but calibrating the exact pressure you could bear so they'd know how much power they could entrust you with later. Your tears weren't evidence of abandonment. They were heaven's blueprint for your breakthrough. That rejection that felt like it would kill you, God allowed it because He needed that relationship out of the way before He could install something that would require your complete attention. That financial crisis that had you choosing between rent and groceries, heaven was teaching your spirit to trust supernatural provision because what's coming will require faith that operates beyond natural logic. That health scare that made you face your own mortality, God was showing you that your life isn't random, that your days are numbered by divine purpose, not human circumstances. Every single thing that tried to destroy you was actually sealing you deeper into your calling. Here's what's going to shake you to your foundation. Your deepest wound is your divine watermark. The place where you hurt the most is the place where your anointing will flow the strongest. The area where you were most broken is where God will demonstrate His most miraculous healing power through you. That shame you've been hiding from everyone, that's not your disqualification. That's your authentication. Heaven stamped you with pain because pain is the only thing that makes people pay attention to transformation. Nobody listens to someone who's never been hurt. Nobody trusts advice from someone who's never been tested. Nobody follows a leader who's never been broken, but a person who walked through hell and came out praising God. That person has something the world desperately needs to see. Your scars aren't your sentence, chosen one. They're your credentials. In Zechariah 13:6, someone asks the coming Messiah, "What are these wounds on your body?" And he answers, "The wounds I was given at the house of my friends." Even Jesus had to be wounded to be qualified for his assignment. Your pain wasn't punishment, it was preparation. It wasn't evidence of God's absence, it was proof of his investment. Heaven doesn't pour that much pressure into someone they're planning to discard. They only apply that level of heat to souls they're planning to use as spiritual diamonds. That person who betrayed you when you needed them most, God allowed them to walk away because they would have talked you out of your destiny. That dream that died in your hands, God buried it because he had a resurrection planned that would shock everyone who counted you out. That season when you felt completely invisible, God hid you because what he was building in you was too valuable to be exposed to the wrong influences. Every tear you cried was collected in heaven's bottles, and now those tears are being distilled into the anointing oil that will flow through your hands to heal others. Your pain became your power source. Your wounds became your weapons. Your scars became your strength. And now the dome around you isn't just protecting the healing. It's protecting the overflow that's about to burst out of every place you were broken. If you were hurting but didn't walk away, if you were drowning but kept swimming, if you were broken but didn't quit believing, comment, "I'm still here." Because that's not just a statement of survival. That's a declaration of divine durability. You're still here because heaven invested too much in your construction to let you collapse. You're still here because your assignment required someone who could take a hit and keep standing. You're still here because what's coming next needs someone who understands that pain is just prophecy leaking through cracks we mistook for curses. The dome is sealed now, the pain phase is complete, and what's about to emerge from all that pressure will make everyone who witnessed your breakdown now witness your breakthrough and wonder how the same person who was barely surviving is now absolutely thriving. The pain was preparation. The wounds were watermarks. And now comes the moment when everything you endured finally makes sense. Now here's where everything you thought you knew gets flipped upside down. The dome isn't overhead, chosen one. It's not surrounding you like some invisible bubble floating 3 feet above your head. The dome is inside you, running through your spiritual operating system like divine software that's been quietly updating your entire internal network. You thought you were just changing naturally, growing older, getting wiser, becoming more selective about who you spend time with. But what's actually happening is that heaven has been installing rejection protocols directly into your soul's firewall. You didn't lose your edge. You got a heaven-encoded security system. That conversation that used to entertain you now tastes like rust in your mouth because your internal system refuses contamination. That friend who used to make you laugh now makes your spirit feel heavy because your upgraded discernment is detecting frequencies that don't match your new operating system. That job that once felt tolerable now feels suffocating because your divine programming is rejecting environments that cap your potential. You've been wondering why you can't fake enthusiasm anymore, why small talk feels like torture, why certain people's energy makes your skin crawl before they even open their mouths. It's not that you've become antisocial, beloved. It's that your internal firewall has gone live. In Romans 12:2, Paul writes, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." But the Greek word for transformed is metamorpho, the same word used for a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. It's not adjustment, it's complete systemic renovation. Your mind isn't just being renewed, it's being reprogrammed. Every toxic thought pattern that used to run automatically has been flagged as malware and quarantined. Every self-defeating belief that used to cycle through your consciousness has been identified as a virus and deleted. Every fear-based reaction that used to hijack your emotions has been replaced with divine response protocols. This is why you feel so different lately. This is why old triggers don't work anymore. This is why manipulation tactics that used to control you now bounce off like they're hitting a steel wall. The Dome installed internal firewalls that run 24/7, scanning every input for compatibility with your divine assignment. Negative thoughts blocked, drama-inducing conversations redirected to spam, energy vampires access denied, toxic relationships connection terminated. You didn't walk away from them, chosen one. The Dome ejected what couldn't go with you, but here's what's going to blow your mind. The Dome didn't just remove the old programming, it installed new code. You've probably noticed that certain Bible verses now hit different. That worship music makes you cry for no apparent reason. That you wake up with songs in your head that you don't remember hearing. That's not coincidence. That's your new spiritual software running background processes. The Dome has been downloading prophetic sensitivity into your system, installing discernment protocols, upgrading your spiritual radar to military-grade precision. You can now sense deception before people finish their sentences. You can feel manipulation before it fully forms in someone's mind. You can detect hidden agendas through text messages. You can identify wolves in sheep's clothing from across a crowded room. This isn't paranoia, beloved. This is divine intelligence operating at full capacity. In John 16:13, Jesus promised, "When the Spirit of truth comes, he will guide you into all truth." But the word guide means to lead by showing the way ahead. Your internal system now comes equipped with spiritual GPS that routes you around spiritual traps before you even see them coming. You've been wondering why you keep avoiding situations that later turn into disasters for other people. Why you had that strange urge to cancel plans that everyone else said would be amazing. Why you felt compelled to distance yourself from that person everyone thought was wonderful. Your internal dome was running interference, protecting you from contamination that would have derailed your assignment. But the most powerful upgrade is in your authority protocols. You've probably noticed that your voice carries different weight now. That when you speak, people listen in a way they didn't before. That your presence shifts atmospheres without you trying. That's because the Dome has activated your divine authorization codes. Every chosen one comes with embedded spiritual authority, but it stays dormant until heaven activates it. The Dome installation process includes unlocking access to power levels you didn't know you possessed. Your prayers aren't just requests anymore. They're commands backed by heaven's legal system. Your declarations aren't just positive thinking. They're executive orders issued from the throne room of God. Your prophetic words aren't just insights. They're blueprints being downloaded directly from divine intelligence. This is why the enemy has been attacking your confidence. He can see your new clearance level and it terrifies him. But here's the part that's going to revolutionize how you see yourself. The Dome has been running compatibility tests on everyone in your life. Those people who suddenly started acting strange around you, the Dome flagged them as incompatible with your new operating system. Those friends who slowly faded away without explanation, the Dome identified them as security risks and initiated disconnection protocols. Those family members who started treating you differently, the dome detected that their frequency would interfere with your signal and created automatic distance. You thought you were losing people, but the dome was cleaning house. Every relationship that couldn't handle your upgrade was systematically filtered out, not to hurt you, but to protect the assignment that's about to come online. Because what's downloading into your spirit is so powerful, so concentrated, so divinely encrypted, that it requires a completely sterile environment to fully activate. If your system has started rejecting the old you, if your internal firewall has been blocking what used to feel normal, if your spiritual operating system has been running cleanup protocols on your entire life, say it out loud, firewall active. Because that's not just an acknowledgement, that's an authorization code that tells heaven you're ready for the final download. The purification phase is complete. The installation is finished. The firewall is operational. Now comes the moment when everything the dome has been protecting finally goes live. And when it does, the world won't just see a different version of you. They'll witness a completely new creation that was hidden inside the old shell until heaven determined the timing was perfect for emergence. The code is active. The system is secure. And you're about to discover exactly what heaven programmed you to become. With all that new code running inside you, something else has been quietly activating. Something that's been making you feel like a stranger in your own life. You walk into rooms that used to feel like home and now feel like foreign territory. You sit in conversations that used to energize you and feel like you're suffocating. You drive the same roads you've traveled for years and suddenly feel like you're in the wrong city, the wrong state, maybe even the wrong dimension. That's not confusion, chosen one. That's your spiritual GPS recalibrating. You don't crave what you used to crave. You can't tolerate what you used to enjoy. You feel allergic to environments that once felt comfortable. That's not you becoming difficult. That's divine dislocation proof that your path is being recalibrated in real time. In Jeremiah 29:11, God says, "I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you hope and a future." But here's what most people miss. The Hebrew word for plans is machashava. It means thoughts that are being calculated, computed, processed. Your future isn't just planned. It's being actively calculated by heaven's navigation system. And right now, that system is saying, current location incompatible with destination, initiating transfer protocols. You've been wondering why nothing feels right anymore, why your old routines feel suffocating, why your usual hangouts feel toxic, why even your favorite foods taste different. It's because the dome has activated your spiritual GPS, and it's detecting massive misalignment between where you are and where you're supposed to be. Every internal alarm that's been going off isn't warning you about danger. It's notifying you about displacement. You're not lost, beloved. You're mid-transfer between spiritual coordinates. Think about when you're using GPS in your car and it suddenly says recalculating route. That moment of uncertainty where you're not sure if you should keep going straight or turn around. You're between the old directions and the new ones. That's exactly where you are spiritually right now. The dome has identified your final destination, but you're still traveling through territory that doesn't match where you're headed. Every feeling of "I don't belong here" is actually heaven's confirmation that you're absolutely right. You don't belong there anymore. Your spirit is already locked onto coordinates that your physical reality hasn't caught up to yet. This is why you've been feeling restless in places that used to satisfy you. Why relationships that once felt fulfilling now feel draining. Why goals that once excited you now feel pointless. Your internal navigation system is rejecting anything that would take you off course from your true destination. But here's what's going to shock you. That destination isn't a place, it's a person. The GPS isn't just relocating you geographically. It's relocating you spiritually, emotionally, mentally into the version of yourself that matches your calling. You're being moved from who you used to be to who you're destined to become. And that journey requires leaving behind every environment, relationship, and habit that's incompatible with your destination identity. In Acts 16:6-7, Paul tried to go to Asia and Bithynia, but the Holy Spirit prevented him. Why? Because God had a different route programmed into Paul's spiritual GPS, one that would lead him to Macedonia, where he would plant churches that would change history. What Paul thought was spiritual roadblocks were actually divine redirects. Every door that's been closing in your life isn't rejection, it's redirection. Every opportunity that's been falling through isn't failure, it's filtering. Every relationship that's been dissolving isn't abandonment, it's alignment correction. The dome has been systematically removing you from every situation that would delay your arrival at your divine destination. You didn't lose your job. The GPS removed you from a position that was capping your potential. You didn't get rejected by that person. The GPS blocked a connection that would have contaminated your frequency. You didn't fail at that venture. The GPS aborted a mission that would have taken you in the wrong direction. Your life didn't fall apart. The dome lifted you mid-sentence out of a story that wasn't yours to finish. Here's the part that's going to revolutionize your perspective. Every time you felt out of place lately, you were receiving a GPS update. That awkwardness at family gatherings, update notification, current environment incompatible with upgraded operating system. That boredom during conversations that used to captivate you. Route revision. This frequency no longer serves your destination coordinates. So, that sudden urge to leave situations, early navigation alert, spiritual hazard detected, initiating emergency extraction. You haven't been antisocial. You've been following divine directions. Your spiritual GPS has been guiding you away from everything that would keep you in the wrong spiritual zip code. But the most powerful feature of this divine navigation system is predictive routing. It doesn't just tell you where to go, it shows you obstacles before you hit them. This is why you've been getting strange warnings about people before anything happens. Why you've been avoiding situations that later turn into disasters. Why you've been feeling urged to make changes before circumstances force them. Your GPS is running predictive algorithms based on heaven's intelligence, showing you the safest, fastest route to your destiny. And here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. That uncomfortable feeling of not belonging anywhere is actually proof that you're about to belong everywhere you're supposed to be. The displacement is temporary. The direction is eternal. You're not wandering aimlessly. You're being positioned strategically. Every place that doesn't feel like home anymore is making room for the place that will feel like home forever. If you've been feeling redirected by design, if your internal GPS has been rerouting your entire existence, if you're between destinations but completely confident that you're on the right path, comment redirected by design. Because that's not just acknowledging what's happening, that's authorizing the final phase of your spiritual relocation. The dome has calculated your coordinates. The GPS has locked onto your destination. The route has been cleared. And what you're about to discover about where you're heading will make every moment of displacement feel like the greatest gift heaven ever gave you. You're not lost between two worlds. You're traveling between two versions of yourself. And the version you're arriving as will make everyone forget the version you used to be. Now listen to me very carefully, chosen one, because what I'm about to tell you is going to explain why everything in your life feels like it's closing in on you right now. Why your world seems to be shrinking instead of expanding. Why opportunities that used to be wide open now feel narrow and restricted. Why even breathing feels different, like there's less space for your lungs to fill. You're not being suffocated, you're being vacuum sealed for impact. God is not making your life smaller to punish you. He's compressing your potential into concentrated power that can break through barriers others can't even see. Think about a diamond. It starts as carbon, ordinary, common, unremarkable. But when it's subjected to intense pressure and heat for extended periods, that simple carbon becomes the hardest substance on Earth. Not through gentle encouragement, through relentless compression. That pressure you're feeling right now, that's not claustrophobia, that's sacred compression. You're being condensed into a force the Earth has never seen. Every area where you feel restricted right now is an area where God is building concentrated power. Your finances feel tight. He's teaching you to multiply with less. Your social circle feels small. He's intensifying the quality of your connections. Your options feel limited. He's laser focusing your energy on what matters most. In Luke 12:50, Jesus said, "I have a baptism to undergo, and what constraint I am under until it is completed." Even Jesus felt the pressure of divine compression as his calling intensified. The Greek word for constraint is sonecho. It means to be pressed together from all sides, held in a grip so tight there's no escape. That's exactly what's happening to you right now. The dome isn't just protecting you anymore. It's compacting you. Every wall that's closing and every door that's shutting, every option that's disappearing, that's not limitation. That's elimination of everything that would dilute your power. God is removing every escape route except the one that leads straight into your destiny. You've been feeling like a caged animal lately, haven't you? Like you can't move without hitting a boundary. Like every direction you try to go is blocked by an invisible force. That's because the seal is reaching maximum compression. And when something reaches maximum compression, there's only one thing that can happen next. Explosion. Think about a volcano before it erupts. All that molten power building beneath the surface, pressure mounting, no way for the energy to escape. It looks like the mountain is just sitting there, dormant, inactive. But underneath, forces beyond human comprehension are building toward an eruption that will reshape the landscape. That's you right now, chosen one. You're not stuck, you're loading. The enemy wants you to think the walls closing in mean God has abandoned you, that the pressure means you're being punished, that the compression means you're being crushed. But that's not how divine engineering works. God doesn't crush. He compacts potential into power. Every time you feel like you can't take another step forward, that's not God limiting your movement. That's God positioning you for a launch that requires maximum torque. In 2 Corinthians 4:8-9, Paul describes this exact experience. We are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. The word pressed is thlebo. It means pressure so intense it squeezes out everything except what's essential. Your finances aren't failing. They're being squeezed until only supernatural provision remains. Your relationships aren't ending. They're being compressed until only divine connections survive. Your options aren't disappearing. They're being reduced until only God's perfect will is visible. This compression phase is the most dangerous time for chosen ones because it's when most people panic and break the seal themselves. They feel the pressure and think something's wrong, so they try to force their way out. They make desperate moves, compromise their standards, settle for lesser options just to escape the discomfort. But chosen one, if you break the seal now, you'll release all the power before it reaches critical mass. The pressure isn't your enemy. The pressure is your preparation. Every squeeze you feel is another degree of power being compressed into your spiritual core. Think about a can of compressed air. When it's under maximum pressure, it looks completely still from the outside. But the moment you press that release valve, explosive force comes out that can clean surfaces. Power tools create instant impact. That's what's being built inside you right now. You may look calm on the outside. People may think you're just going through a quiet season, but inside the dome, you're reaching spiritual pressure levels that will create impact beyond anything you've ever experienced. Here's what the enemy is terrified you'll discover. The tighter the seal gets, the more powerful your release will be. He's been trying to convince you that the compression means you're losing. But compression is the final stage before breakthrough. NASA doesn't launch rockets gently. They build pressure in the fuel chambers until it reaches explosive levels, then release it all at once to break through Earth's gravitational pull. God is using the same principle with your calling. Every door that closes increases the pressure. Every limitation that's imposed builds more force. Every restriction that's placed creates more concentrated power. And when that pressure reaches critical mass, when the seal is perfect, when the compression is complete, God is going to release you with such force that you'll break through barriers that have been holding back entire generations. If the pressure is real, if the walls are closing in, if you feel like you're being squeezed from every direction, but you know deep down this is divine design, say it now, seal me fully, God. Because that's not surrender, that's authorization for maximum compression. You're not asking God to make it easier, you're asking Him to make it complete. The seal is almost perfect. The pressure is almost at critical mass. The compression is almost ready for release. And when that moment comes, when God finally says, launch, the force that comes out of you will reshape everything it touches. The tighter the seal, the bigger the explosion. The greater the compression, the more powerful the expansion. You're not being limited, beloved, you're being loaded. And what's about to be released from inside that pressure chamber will make the earth tremble with the sound of heaven's artillery finally firing. Now the moment has come for you to understand the real reason heaven sealed you inside that dome. And when I tell you what's been hidden from you all this time, everything that felt like punishment will suddenly make perfect sense as preparation. You thought you were being isolated, but you were being preserved. You thought you were being hidden, but you were being reserved. You thought you were being forgotten, but you were being prepared for unforgettable impact. Heaven didn't put you on pause, chosen one. It placed you under protocol. Because what's coming to this earth needs someone who's untouchable, undeniable, and completely unforgettable. Let me pull back the curtain on heaven's classified operation. The reason God sealed you wasn't to protect you from the storm that's coming. You were sealed because you are the storm that heaven is about to release. In Revelation 7:3, an angel cries out, "Do not harm the earth or the sea or the trees until we have sealed the servants of our God on their foreheads." This isn't just marking them for protection. This is marking them for deployment. The seal isn't a shield. It's a launch code. You're not just a vessel carrying blessing, beloved. You're a vault carrying classified glory that's been locked away until the exact moment when heaven determines the world is ready to witness what's been hidden inside you. Think about Fort Knox. They don't just store gold there, they store the nation's most valuable reserves under the highest security protocols. Multiple layers of protection, restricted access, armed guards. Why? Because what's inside is so valuable that its release could reshape entire economies. That's exactly what you are spiritually. You're heaven's Fort Knox. God hasn't been hiding you because you're fragile. He's been hiding you because you're dangerous. The power He's placed inside you is so concentrated, so pure, so undiluted by compromise, that if it had been released prematurely, it would have either overwhelmed you or been stolen by forces that had no right to it. But now, the vault is ready to open. For months, maybe years, you've been wondering why God allowed you to feel so separated from everyone and everything. Why He let you walk through seasons where you felt completely misunderstood, overlooked, even invisible. It's because He was preparing you for a level of visibility that required total spiritual sterilization first. You couldn't be contaminated by public opinion while he was installing classified intelligence into your spirit. You couldn't be influenced by popular trends while he was downloading revolutionary revelation into your mind. You couldn't be swayed by human approval while he was calibrating your internal compass to respond only to heaven's frequency. The isolation wasn't rejection, it was incubation. Every moment you spent feeling cut off from the world, God was cutting you free from everything that would limit what he's about to do through you. In John 12:24, Jesus said, "Unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds." You thought you were dying in that isolation, but you were germinating. The seed of your true calling had to be buried deep enough, hidden long enough, protected completely enough to ensure that when it finally broke through the surface, it would grow into something the world has never seen before. Here's what's going to shake you to your core. The storm that's about to hit the earth isn't just chaos. It's a divine filtering system. Everything that's built on false foundations is about to crumble. Every institution, relationship, and system that's not rooted in truth is about to collapse. The world is about to experience such upheaval that only those who are sealed, secured, and anchored in divine purpose will remain standing. And that's why you were hidden. Not to escape the storm, but to be positioned as the calm in the center of it. While others are being shaken, you'll be unshakable. While others are being confused, you'll carry clarity. While others are falling apart, you'll be the one putting things back together. The dome didn't just change you, chosen one. It made you storm-proof. But more than that, it made you storm-responsive. You won't just survive what's coming, you'll thrive in it. Because the same power that sealed you is the same power that will flow through you to rebuild what the storm tears down. You were hidden during the calm so you could be revealed during the chaos. In Esther 4:14, Mordecai asked Esther, "Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" She had been hidden in the palace, prepared in secret, positioned in advance for the exact moment when her people would need a deliverer. You are that Esther for this generation. Everything that felt like preparation was actually positioning. Every closed door was redirecting you toward the door only you were meant to walk through. Every delay was divine timing, ensuring you arrived at the exact right moment with the exact right preparation. The world doesn't know your name yet, but it's about to. The sphere of influence you've been called to impact doesn't recognize your voice yet, but it's about to hear it thunder. The generation that needs what you carry hasn't seen you coming yet, but you're about to emerge from heaven's vault with solutions they didn't even know they were waiting for. Say it aloud right now, "I was sealed for the storm." Because that's not just an acknowledgement, that's an activation code that tells heaven, you finally understand your assignment. You weren't sealed to escape the storm. You are the storm that heaven has been saving for this moment in history. The dome around you isn't opening to let you out. It's opening to let heaven's storm loose through you. Every prayer you prayed in silence is about to be answered in public. Every tear you cried in private is about to be vindicated in the open. Every moment you felt forgotten is about to be revealed as strategic positioning for unforgettable impact. The vault is opening. The seal is breaking. The storm is about to be released. And when it is, the earth will remember why heaven had to hide you until now. You weren't too much for the world. The world wasn't ready for how much you actually are. But ready or not, your time of concealment is over. The storm has been sealed, prepared, and positioned. Now comes the moment when heaven says, "Release the storm." But wait, something just happened that you weren't expecting. Right after understanding why you were sealed, after declaring yourself ready for the storm, after feeling that surge of recognition, when everything finally made sense, The silence pressed in even harder. You thought there would be fireworks. You expected immediate activation. You waited for the walls to come crashing down and your purpose to explode into motion. Instead, the dome got quieter. Why does it feel even more still now that you know who you are? Why does the isolation feel deeper after the revelation? Why has the world gotten even more muffled since you declared, "I was sealed for the storm"? Because Chosen One, the sealing wasn't finished. What you experienced was Phase 1 recognition. What you're in now is Phase 2 calibration. The dome didn't just mute the world around you. It's now syncing your internal frequency with heaven's exact wavelength. Think about tuning a violin. First, you have to tighten the strings to the right tension. But then comes the delicate part, micro adjustments that align each string to perfect pitch. Too fast and you snap the string. Too rough and you destroy the instrument. That's what heaven is doing with your spirit right now. God isn't delaying you. He's aligning your breath with the breath of God himself. In 1 Kings 19:11-12, Elijah waded through the wind, the earthquake, and the fire. But God spoke in the still, small voice that came after all the noise. That wasn't just a gentle whisper. In Hebrew, it's kol damama daka, the voice of thin silence. God's most powerful communications come through frequencies so refined that only spirits that have been perfectly tuned can receive them. You're being tuned right now, Chosen One. Every day that feels too quiet, every moment that feels too still, every hour that feels suspended in time, that's not emptiness. That's precision engineering. Heaven is calibrating your spiritual radar to detect signals that 99% of humanity can't pick up. Your heart is being synchronized to beat in rhythm with divine timing. Your thoughts are being aligned to think in harmony with heaven's strategies. This isn't the calm before the storm. This is the storm learning to move at the exact speed of God's purposes. You've been wondering why nothing feels urgent anymore, even though you know something massive is coming. Why you can't force yourself to rush even when logic says you should be moving faster. It's because the dome has shifted your operating system from human time to heaven time. You're no longer running on anxiety, adrenaline, or earthly deadlines. You're now synchronized with eternal rhythms that move with perfect precision, never early, never late, always exactly on schedule. This is why forced action feels wrong right now. Why trying to push doors open feels like fighting against an invisible current. Why every attempt to speed up the process feels like swimming upstream. God is teaching you to move at the speed of sovereignty. But here's what's happening in the silence that you can't see. Your inner storm is being synchronized with heaven's countdown. While the external world feels muted, your internal power grid is being connected to frequencies that will make your eventual activation absolutely seamless. Think about a fighter jet before takeoff. Well, it doesn't just taxi to the runway and blast off. There's a synchronized sequence: ground control, clearance tower, communication, radar, confirmation, flight plan, verification. Every system has to be perfectly aligned before that massive burst of power is released. That's exactly where you are right now. The silence isn't stagnation, it's system synchronization. Every quiet day is another frequency locked in. Every still moment is another coordinate confirmed. Every peaceful hour is another layer of your assignment being aligned with heaven's master timeline. You're not being delayed. You're being prepared for launch sequences that require perfect timing. If you felt even more hidden this week, if the silence has gotten deeper since you understood your sealing, if you're experiencing stillness so profound it almost feels sacred, type still inside the dome. Because that's not just describing your current state, that's confirming you're in the final calibration phase. The dome isn't keeping you quiet to punish your eagerness. It's keeping you still to perfect your alignment. And when that alignment reaches 100% synchronization with heaven's frequency, when your internal storm is perfectly matched to God's timing, when every layer of your calling is locked into divine coordinates, The silence won't break gradually, it will shatter like thunder, and what emerges won't just be the storm heaven prepared. It will be the storm that arrives exactly when the earth needs it, most moving at precisely the speed of God's perfect will. The calibration is almost complete, the synchronization is nearly finished, and the countdown has already begun. Now that you understand you're sealed inside God's dome, you can't go back to living like an ordinary person. Every day from this moment forward must be lived with dome consciousness, the awareness that you're operating under divine protection and divine assignment. Before your feet hit the floor each morning, speak this declaration: I am sealed for this day's purpose. Don't just mumble it. Say it with the authority of someone who knows they're carrying classified intelligence from heaven. Your morning coffee tastes different when you drink it, knowing you're fueled by divine assignment, not just caffeine. That internal firewall we talked about, it's active right now. When someone approaches you with drama, notice how your spirit reacts before your mind processes their words. When opportunities present themselves, feel for that inner yes or no before you analyze the details. Your dome-enhanced discernment will guide you away from energy drains and toward divine appointments. When you feel suddenly uncomfortable in a familiar place, don't ignore it. When you lose interest in conversations that used to captivate you, pay attention. When you feel drawn to people or situations for no logical reason, follow that pull. Your spiritual GPS is actively rerouting your life in real time. Stop fighting the redirection and start trusting the navigation. On days when everything feels tight, restricted, or compressed, resist the urge to panic or force your way out. Instead, whisper, God, compress my potential into power. Use those pressure-filled moments to pray deeper, think clearer, and align more closely with heaven's frequency. The pressure isn't punishment, it's preparation for the explosive breakthrough that's coming. When the world feels muted and your voice feels quiet, don't interpret that as spiritual death. Recognize it as divine calibration. Use those still moments to listen for heaven's frequency. Journal what you sense. Pay attention to the dreams that come during these quiet seasons. God is downloading strategy into your spirit during the silence. Stop forcing doors that feel stuck. Stop chasing opportunities that require you to compromise your peace. Your dome is teaching you to move at the speed of sovereignty, not the speed of anxiety. When something is meant for you, it will feel like a divine flow, not a spiritual fight. Remember, you weren't sealed to escape what's coming. You were sealed because you are what's coming. Walk into every room knowing you carry something the world needs. Speak every word knowing heaven is backing your voice. Make every decision knowing your choices are shaping not just your future, but the future of everyone your calling will touch. The dome isn't just around you, it's activated through you. Live accordingly. Chosen one, if you've stayed with me through this entire journey, you now understand something that most people will never comprehend. You are not living an ordinary life. You have been deliberately sealed inside God's divine dome for a purpose that goes far beyond what your natural eyes can see. Never forget that your isolation was not rejection, it was divine preparation. Your silence was not abandonment, it was sacred calibration. Your pain was not punishment, it was the precision engineering of your calling. Every moment that felt like suffering was actually sealing you tighter into your destiny. The pressure you've been feeling isn't meant to crush you, it's compressing your potential into concentrated power. The walls that seem to be closing in aren't limitations, they're the final adjustments before your explosive release into purpose. Right now, as you hear these words, know that God's presence is closer to you than your own breath. He hasn't been distant during your difficult seasons. He's been working with surgical precision to prepare you for what's coming. Every tear you cried was collected. Every prayer you whispered was heard. Every moment you felt forgotten was actually a moment when heaven was working overtime on your behalf. And you're not just connected to God, you're connected to a community of sealed ones just like you. Around the world, other chosen ones are feeling the same stirrings, experiencing the same divine compression, walking through the same sacred preparation. You're part of heaven's special forces, and we stand together. As you step into this new understanding of who you are and why you were sealed, I want you to ask yourself this: what would you do differently today if you truly believed that you carry the power to be God's storm in a world that desperately needs His intervention? Father God, I place my hand on the shoulder of every person hearing this message right now. Lord, they have walked through valleys that nearly broke them. They have endured pressure that would have crushed others. They have remained faithful when faithfulness felt impossible. I pray that you would breathe fresh wind into their spirits right now. Let them feel the weight of your divine favor settling upon them like a warm blanket. Open their eyes to see that every closed door was your protection, every delay was your perfect timing, every moment of pain was your preparation. God, activate the dome around their lives with fresh power. Let them feel the security of being completely covered by your presence. Silence every voice of doubt, every whisper of inadequacy, every lie that says they're not enough. Replace those lies with the thunderous truth of their divine calling. Lord, as they step into this new season, go before them and prepare their way. Open doors that no man can shut. Align them with the right people at the right time. Release supernatural favor, divine connections, and miraculous provision. Let their light shine so brightly that others are drawn to the hope that lives within them.